All right, folks, we're finally here. The election is going to be over within the next few days. All right, now, this entire election season, everybody's had their opinion, everybody's put their 2 cents in. But the one thing I have yet to see in this election is someone put on the board the policies of both candidates, because this entire election has been a personality contest. All right, this has not been a left versus right election. This has not been a red versus blue, liberal versus conservative, Democrat versus Republican. No, this entire election has been about Trump. It's either been you like Trump or you hate Trump. Because let's be honest, nobody freaking likes Joe Biden. All right, nobody. And if you have honestly looked at the candidate with your own eyes and still are planning on voting for him, it's not because you like Joe Biden, and it's not like because it's not that you like his policies either. It's because you freaking hate Trump. All right, that's what this election has come down to. So before the rest of you that haven't voted yet go out to the polls either today or tomorrow and cast your vote, I feel like you need to see the policies of both candidates, because no matter how much you think you hate a candidate, you might hate their policies more. All right. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to put both candidates' policies on the board, but I'm not going to tell you which candidate it is, and I'll let you decide which candidate will be better. All right, and in this comparison, we're going to be doing 5 different categories. We're going to be doing their stances on healthcare, the economy, foreign policy, and for this year, we're adding a couple special topics that wouldn't normally be part of an election inquiry, but their responses to COVID and their responses to all the riots that have been happening throughout the country. All right, because how they handle those is very important. All right. All right. Candidate A wants to socialize your healthcare. And what that means, for people who don't understand all that mumbo jumbo, socialized healthcare means they're going to take away your private health insurance, meaning they're going to force you on a government plan that is not free no matter what they say. Socialism is a scam. Socialism, they claim it's free, but you end up paying for it anyways through your taxes. And that is what candidate A wants for your healthcare. Now, candidate B, on the other hand, is all about privatization, which a lot of people think only the rich people are allowed to have it. No, it means choice. It means you have an option between a government healthcare system or a private one, which a lot of people are already on private healthcare plans, would like to keep them. This candidate is all for keeping your healthcare and maybe even improving on some of it in different ways. On the economy, candidate A supported NAFTA and other horrible trade deals that pretty much sent our jobs overseas. This candidate has been on the wrong side of every trade deal America has ever been in, including the North American Trade Agreement, which was going to send even more of our jobs overseas. Candidate B was not afraid to go against policy that was set before him. This candidate renegotiated trade deals and made sure that America was on the winning side of each one of those trade deals. This candidate has been talking about it and has been one of this candidate's main policy election objectives they've had since this person has been running for office. All right, they have renegotiated NAFTA and have made trade deals in favor of America and brought a lot of companies back to the States. Now, on the foreign policy front, this is one it's a very clear choice for who's better at foreign policy. Candidate A is currently caught up in a scandal where this candidate and this candidate's family has been embroiled in money laundering, bribery, and selling of influence of their seat in the office of the White House, peddling their influence to Ukraine, Russia, and China. This candidate, despite how much news is trying to cover it up, this candidate is corrupt to the core. On the other hand, the other candidate here just negotiated 3 different peace deals with countries in the Middle East. You know how, like, during the 9/11 era with Bush, that we're always hoping for peace in the Middle East? Well, this candidate just negotiated it. Israel just normalized relationships with the UAE and Sudan. Both of these countries hated Israel and are heavily Muslim countries. But under this candidate, the relationships between all those countries have changed, and peace is finally starting to come to the Middle East. Also, this candidate wasn't afraid to talk to North Korea, and now North Korea is no longer a threat to the United States. Now, I really wish I wasn't doing a COVID response topic, but that's all the news and the media wants people to focus on. So let's do it anyways, all right? This candidate did not want to shut down travel to China when the pandemic first happened. The most common sense, straightforward approach to condensing the spread is to not let people from the source come into your country. That is a very straightforward and just logical tactic. But this candidate was totally against doing that, all right? And only later did they support it when it was proven that that decision to shut down travel from China right when the pandemic was starting was crucial to saving American lives. This candidate was against it. This candidate claims to have a plan, but literally just plagiarizes the plan of candidate B. Now, this candidate has a very straightforward approach to this pandemic and has been as forthright as this candidate could be. This candidate has been criticized for not fear mongering more about the virus and has been criticized for trying to keep everybody calm, which I thought everybody wanted that in a good leader. Someone that wasn't jumping up and down, screaming, trying to get everybody afraid, but someone that has the info that he needs, has all the plans needed to expedite a vaccine, expedite therapeutics, expedite all of these things that will help with the pandemic, while at the same time trying to keep the public calm. That is how this candidate handled it, and this candidate's bet is starting to come to fruition now that there's more focus on vaccines and therapeutics and other things outside of vaccines to help with this virus. That is what this candidate has been focusing on. And lastly, we're going to focus on the riots. Notice I didn't put peaceful protests because peaceful protests have not been an issue this year. It's been all of the rioting that's been happening this year. That's been a big cause of concern for a lot of folks. This candidate was all in favor of the violent protests, all right? It's a peaceful protest until it turns violent. And once it becomes violent, it's no longer a peaceful protest. It's a riot. This candidate, as long as people on its staff and this candidate's VP pick, have all been support of the rioters. They've bailed out a lot of these rioters, and they have failed to condemn any of the violence at all. This candidate is pro-riots. And this candidate B, did everything in this candidate's power to prevent the riots without overstepping that candidate's authority in its current office. This candidate has been screaming law and order because this candidate understands that people won't come out to vote and people won't come out to live their lives if they are afraid for their own safety. So this candidate, while in support of peaceful protests, has condemned the violence, has condemned all of the violent things going on, and will not tolerate it if elected. Now, I added one more category because it just occurred to me as I was going through this list. But what is their stance on religion and religious freedoms, all right, on both candidates? Candidate A is Catholic, but only in name, all right? This candidate supports abortions. This candidate supports same-sex marriages, which I'm not against. I'm just letting you know what that candidate's for. This candidate is for every anti-Catholic policy there is. So he's not a very good Catholic, all right? While this candidate hasn't come forward with a solid, hey, this is my religion kind of announcement, this candidate has been pro-Christian from the moment this candidate was in power. And this candidate is argued to be the most pro-Christian candidate ever because this candidate has supported freedoms for churches, has been pushing for churches to open back up, just put a Catholic Supreme Court justice with a lifetime appointment on the seat of the Supreme Court, meaning that long after this candidate leaves office, this candidate's influence in the Supreme Court will last forever. And it's through this candidate picked a Catholic Supreme Court justice, meaning no matter what happens in Congress after this election, no matter what law is passed, it's going to have to be filtered through a pro-Christian justice. This candidate made it happen. So all the Christians and religious people out there, if you're on the fence about which candidate to vote for, do realize that one of these candidates is pro-Christian and the other candidate is the most anti-Christian candidate there's probably ever been, despite the fact that this candidate claims to be Catholic. Now, I know what you're thinking. Which candidate is which? I'm going to give you a moment to try to guess. Which one do you think is which? Who do you think is Trump? Who do you think is Biden? Do you think Trump is the corrupt one? Or Biden? Do you think Biden's pro-Christian? Do you think Trump likes to plagiarize things? All right. What this literally shows you is the images you've been given on TV about what candidate is and what they represent, completely biased. Even the ones that are pro-Trump don't always get it right. This is Joe Biden. He wants to socialize your health care. He wants to put us back in bad trade deals where foreign countries can take advantage of us. And it's no surprise he was doing that because he's corrupt and he's been taking money from these countries for a long time. He plagiarizes because he's not freaking original and he has no creative gene in his body. He's kind of a dummy, all right? Which is why he always takes other people's plans. In the 80s, he ran for the president, plagiarized other politicians' speeches, got ridiculed for it, had to drop out of the race. He has not changed at all. Whenever he says Trump doesn't have a plan and he says he wants to do more tracing, contact tracing, more mask, social distancing, I'm sorry, but the Trump administration's already been doing that. They've been doing that, all right? He's plagiarizing that. He just a fear monger is all he's doing. Well, this president is trying to keep everybody calm. No matter how bad the disease is, it will not be better if you freak everybody out. That is common sense, and this guy doesn't have any, all right? When it comes to the riots, I'm sorry. I know this is a very touchy subject because people want to justify these riots because of racial inequality. But this is not just a Joe Biden thing where he's supporting the riots. The entire Democratic Party has been pro-riots since May when all of this started, all right? They've been bailing out the rioters, all these liberal cities, all these Democratic cities. They are not allowing the police to do their jobs, and they allow these cities to burn so they can turn around and blame it on Trump, who is screaming law and order. He's not allowed to go in these cities and just clean it up. The state, the mayor, they have to ask the federal government to do it. So the reason you're seeing Seattle burn, the reason you're seeing Portland burn, Chicago, New York, the reason you're seeing all that chaos there is because Trump is not just allowed to go in there. All right, he's not a dictator like they make him seem to be. They have to ask for his help, and they are refusing to do it because they want people scared. So when election comes around, they can turn around and be like, well, this is Trump's America. This is all his fault. No, this is the most corrupt party in American history, and it's shown in 2020. They are pro-riots because they're trying to scare you, all right? And at the very end of it, the religious aspect. I did it last because not everybody cares about religion, which is fine, but there's a lot of people that do. And with all the stuff going on in the news, do realize this is the anti-God party. The Democrats, Joe Biden, they are anti-God. They are atheists. And every government that has set up itself to be atheist, which is all the communist regimes, what's happened in those countries, all right? The moment they took God or any kind of spirituality out of their government system and society, what happened? How many people died in the Soviet Union in the purges? How many people died in communist China when it first went communist? How many people are dying and starving today in North Korea? All right? People, do your homework. Realize even if you're not religious, you probably want to live in a country where there's some kind of religious structure in the government, because at least there will be some kind of moral check on these anti-God atheist dictators that go into power, because since there's no religion, they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want, including killing their own citizens. And I know that sounds a little extreme, and maybe I'm exaggerating and hyperbole and all that, but do realize there is precedent for it. And if this guy is anti-God, who's been doing corrupt dealings with China and has already given China a lot of our jobs, why do you think he would fix the problem when he gets back in office? He won't, all right? Which is why the media doesn't tell you how great of a guy Joe Biden is. They focus exclusively on how bad Trump is, despite the fact they don't tell you any of this crap. They only tell you the bad things they want to know about Trump, so that you're not looking at Joe Biden, you're only looking at how much you hate Trump. But you have to realize Biden is a Trojan horse, meaning that he has all of the bad ideas of the Democratic Party wrapped up in one, and that when he becomes in the office, he's going to make all of this a reality. And our country will no longer be the same. Know this when you go into the booth. If you haven't voted yet, know this is what you're voting for, all right? Even if you don't like the tweets and the personality, realize you're voting for socialism, which is the doorstep and the segue into communism, all right? There's a reason why he's always screaming China, because he knows this. And why he keeps saying America first, all right? America first is not being selfish. It is not being lack of empathy. People think that when he says America first, it's, oh, he's lacking empathy for other countries. No, they lack empathy for our own citizens. Democratic Party and Joe Biden and people like him lack empathy for its own citizens and would rather sell us out to foreign entities. So guess what? I'm going for the guy that actually loves America. You know, that's another thing you got to add to here. So in the America category, Joe Biden and his party, they hate it. That's why they're trying to change it. But President Trump, he loves America, which is why I already voted for him. And I know I wasn't trying to sway your vote in this, but honestly, this is what you're voting for. And I'll let you decide whether you love America as well, because I do. Now, go out there and vote.